in downtown of Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. We are now here in Libertyville.
You'll find out where the
Libertyville, Pennsylvania.
Next place, please turn right onto Market Street.
So, ayan. May horse dito.
Take a horse ride?
You want? How much the payment? Babe, the Liberty Center is there.
That's what that line is for.
You want to take that? Okay. It's good.
Oh, can we do the white one? This one here? Can we take it?
So we have the 20-minute tour, $50, the half-hour tour, $60, and the hour tour is $120.
You can do it for 1 hour?
Oh, how much?
It's $120.
For 1 hour?
Oh, how much is it for 60? I mean, yeah, what was for
It's $60 for 30 minutes.
Okay, $60 for 30. I think 30 minutes is good enough.
Yeah.
That's my favorite one.
Yeah, 30.
Yeah, I'm gonna ride this scooter horse. Look at that. Ayan guys. Oh yeah. Ayan, aakyat ako dito sasakay.
Here.
It's okay, okay.
You got the camera running, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, hold your camera.
Okay. Yay! I'm here. So andito kami sa Libertyville. Ayan. So magpasyal-pasyal. So ayan guys, nandito kami sa Pennsylvania, Liberty. So, gusto namin, ayan. So mag-cover na tayo dahil bawal ang yay! Alright. Babe, hold me. We take a ride going to around. Woohoo! Ayan, may horse din doon. Ayan guys, ang daming tao doon.
That's the only thing I can do.
Woohoo!
My name is Cece and this is Opie.
Opie.
Hi, Opie.
Hi, Opie. I wish I brought some carrots.
Oh, I have plenty of stuff for him.
Oh, okay.
I have a whole 20-pound bag of pork street.
Oh, nice.
Hello! Ayan, ang cute nila, oh. Woohoo!
No, we're not getting
Hi. He wants some sugar.
Where are you guys from?
Florida.
Florida? What part?
Near West Palm Beach.
Okay.
Ever been down that area?
Not West Palm, but last year I was in, what is the name of it? It's in the middle of nowhere. It's like central.
Oh,
Starts with an O.
Starts L?
Oh.
Oh, Opaka?
No.
Obama?
Is that real?
No. Obama.
It's right next to it. It's between Daytona and something that's starting
Orlando, Opaka. Guys.
Yeah. The line starts on that side of the building if there is a line, but under
Yeah.
that tree you can walk up to a window and see it real close if you don't want to
Oh,
go
the
inside.
bell is there.
Yeah.
Oh.
The
okay,
big
there it
bell is
yeah.
there. I see it, the
Oh,
gold
okay.
one.
So the middle building here is the Centennial Tower. The bell tower up there is where the Liberty Bell used to be before it crashed the second time. That is now the Centennial Bell that rings every hour. The Centennial Bell was for the 100-year anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. It's made out of melted down cannon from the Civil War.
Oh.
When the Capitol was here, the President's office was in this building. The last three windows with the draped capture on is the room they signed the Declaration of Independence in. And then years later, they also signed the Constitution in that room. It was originally built in 1733 to be the Pennsylvania State House. And of course, Independence Hall is on the back of every $100 bill.
Yeah.
But the newer ones have George Washington's statue on it.
Oh.
The last building here is Old City Hall. This is where the Supreme Court has been. Whoa. When the Capitol was here, and there is a gift shop in here in the mornings. I think they close around 2 or 3, but you can go in there in the morning. But during that 10-year period, from 1790 until 1800s, the Capitol was in Philadelphia. All 3 branches of the government were all in this tiny little block here. This is our older City Hall. If you haven't gotten to see the newer one yet, we'll get a glimpse of it coming back to the stands.
Okay.
It's like 4 blocks long now compared to how tiny this is.
Oh.
This red brick building across the street here is called Library Hall. That was the first library that Benjamin Franklin had founded. In here, he rented his books for 2 pennies. If you returned them on time, he would give you a penny back because penny savers are in here. They do have about 2,500 books left in there from the colonial time. Now you can't rent them anymore, but you can go in and look at them. The statue here is the signer statue. It represents all 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence. If you notice that he's looking up through the Declaration of Independence, it symbolizes looking into the future of the United States. And it was modeled after the youngest signer, George Clymer, who I believe was 23 when he signed the Declaration.
You remember this, babe? I saw it.
Did you go in here?
No.
No.
No?
Oh no, this is the
No.
first time over this area.
Okay. So this was the second bank in the United States. This was only open from 1860 until 1836 as a federal bank. It is now a portrait gallery for all of our U.S. leaders and founding fathers. In here, they have a rare portrait of Thomas Jefferson with his natural red hair instead of the white wigs they all wore.
Oh yeah.
They
Yeah.
also, if those red doors are open, if you walk past here, you don't need a ticket and it's free to get into. You can just go in there.
So when the doors close, that means they're closed?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think they're only open on the weekends now, too.
Oh.
That's difficult because of the coronavirus and winter hours.
Oh. Okay.
Usually business for all the tours around here stops in like September, but since the coronavirus, it didn't stop
Oh,
this
okay.
year. It started in like September. Yeah, Philadelphia opened on September 8th. Everything was closed down
Everything.
before that.
Wow.
We were still here because we're not inside,
Uh-huh.
but everything else, they weren't allowed to be open.
Damn. So was this a...
In Aiken, South Carolina. I was in Georgia most of this year for working with different horses.
Oh,
And I got stuck down there because of the coronavirus.
damn.
Yeah.
So is this your horse?
No, this is actually only my second weekend with him. One man owns them all. We work with certain horses.
Oh, okay.
So. The first building on my left-hand side here is called New Hall. This was the first War Department in the United States. It was used for the Revolutionary War. And when the Capitol was here in Philadelphia, that was basically the Pentagon. You know how tiny this building is? Because we only had about 12 men in our military back then because there was only a $5,000 budget a year.
Oh,
It's
God.
now a museum for most of the military originally built in the 1700s. They did tear it down and rebuild rebuilt it to look exactly the same in the 1960s. The second building here is called Carpenter's Hall, built in 1774. That is the original building. It's where the Carpenters Guild still meets about 4 times a year, but this is also where the first Continental Congress had met in secret, disguised as carpenters, to discuss their grievances with the king. Now, there's also a restaurant here that they used to meet at. They would drink, make meals. It's down on Second Walnut. They still dress up as the colonial people in there. They have old beer recipes from back then. They have 3 different famous people's biscuit recipes, including Thomas Jefferson. So if you were to go there, you don't get bread in the beginning, you get little biscuits. This is one of 7 streets left in Philadelphia that are actually cobblestones, and it is original. Technically, this isn't even a street anymore. But if you get to see the oldest street in America that's in Philadelphia, the oldest living street, it's about half that size. Very tiny. It's all cobblestone. Whoa. So the corner house here is the Todd house, where John and Dorothea Todd had lived with their 2 small children. John was a young attorney in the late 1700s, and in 1793, when the yellow fever came to Philadelphia, it had gotten to about 10% of our population, which back then was only 5,000 people. But that did include John, leaving Dorothea a widow. Back then, women were not allowed to own residential homes, so she had turned this into a boarding. This building here is the Philadelphia Contribution Ship, founded in 1752 by Benjamin Franklin and some of his friends. This is the first fire insurance company in the United States, and it is still open today. But back then, each fire insurance company had their own plaque that they would put on your house. This would show the volunteer firemen, basically if they were going to get paid and buy Mr. Horn. And we only had volunteer firemen back then. Down this little street here, the second building in is actually a church called Old St. Joseph. That was founded in 1733, and it became the first Catholic church in Philadelphia. Everything but one church is still open today, all the churches that we found. Do you see the little oval plaque in between those 2 doorways there? It's okay. We'll pass more of them.
Oh, the trees looking yellow.
The trees just turning yellow because it's getting colder.
Yeah.
Next to us here, we have Old St. Mary's Church and Cemetery. This cemetery's been here since 1759, but it took them 4 years after to build the church. This was the first Roman Catholic cathedral church in Philadelphia, second Catholic church, where Pope Francis came and visited us here. It's also where Commodore John Barry is buried. Commodore John Barry had come here from Ireland, fought the Revolutionary War, became the captain of the Navy, and what they consider to be one of the 3 fathers or founders of the United States Navy. And we might pass a statue. You look to the seating area over here. We call this the whispering wall. If one of you were to sit at one end, another at the other end, you could whisper and it would travel down the wall to the other person. Oh, will you stop trying to go down that street like that?
Oh, the guys are moving in. Hello.
We are in the neighborhood called Society Hill. Society Hill was the second part of Philadelphia built. Philadelphia did not keep up with their historic city until around the 1960s. It sold for $1.7 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where they get that kind of money? What kind of job they have?
Yeah, not in Philadelphia, probably.
Jeez.
These 3 homes here we like to call the 60s homes. The first home built in the 1860s, the middle one in the 1760s, and the last one in the 1960s. These are all Georgian-styled homes.
Bye.
So this is actually one of the last freestanding mansions in Philadelphia, and it is actually a tour home. It's not, nobody lives here. Hi! This is where Philip Sinkfisik had lived from 1815 until 1837. He was the father of American surgery. And why he was known to be so successful is because the patients would actually live for a few hours after surgery. His first successful surgery, he got a patient off the table, they lived for 7 hours. That was celebrated back then. Big difference today. So the oldest house that we're going to see on our tour is this yellow home here, which is the oldest Trinity home that I have seen, which are the windows, one up top, one on the bottom, two in the middle. That represents the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And that one was built between 1750 and 1760 for a ship captain, John Smith. Have you ever seen the movie?
One there.
The church we have, the cemetery, is Old Pine Street Church. It was built in 1768. It was the third Presbyterian church. And that's the church that the British soldiers took over when they were here. The British came and literally taxed on every tiny detail about your home, down to the width of your doorknob, which you'll see on this first door here. But you were taxed on how many windows you had, the square footage of your home. If you've seen this many stairs on a house, you knew the person that lived here was rich because of it. You were taxed on how many rooms you had, which when most of these homes were first built, they only had one room per floor. And you were taxed on how many walls you had on the outside of your home, which is why we started building row homes. So when the people that lived in these houses found out the tax man was coming around, everyone would hurry and shut the shutters. Because if he couldn't see your windows, he couldn't tax you on them. Because he wasn't allowed to touch anything. In England, they actually brick their windows up there.
Oh.
But I've never given you a little history about Philadelphia. Philadelphia was founded in 1682 by a man named William Penn. William Penn came here after experiencing the Great Fire in London. So he had a lot of fire precautions when he was building our city up that we'll get to some of them. We'll get to all of them throughout the tour. But beginning with, he put the original city to be like a fire grid so that it was easy to move around. We're pretty boxed here instead of circles like
Yeah.
all of the streets that were going north to south were numbered. All of the streets going east to west were named after trees or bushes. And they actually used to plant those trees and bushes on those streets because back then not a lot of people could read. They just looked at the tree and know where they were. So we're on Spruce Street. Back then they would have a spruce tree lining the street. Yeah, of course we don't follow that anymore because we are quite the opposite. Locust Street is the only one that still has Locust Street on it. But we also do not have a First Street here because William Penn believed, oh, do you see that little step in horse pole next to the car?
Yeah.
They're back in the colonial times when we only drove the horse and buggies. That's where you would tie your horse up to, and the step was for women to step up and down to the carriages to the curtain up. And men would dismount horseback. But yeah, William Penn believed that God is number one, nothing is equal to him. So our first street is actually called Front Street because it was the front of our city. It's actually that way, not this way. So it goes front, second, third, and so on. The big building on the left here is called the Society Hill Synagogue. This was built in 1830, but it's only been a synagogue for about 53 years now. It was originally a Roman Catholic church. Black Shutter home next to us here is the Madison home where James and Dolly Madison had lived for 4 years before he became the 4th president and they went to Washington, D.C.
Oh, amazing.
That is privately owned. Somebody does live there, so you can't do tours in that home. Oh, sorry, open. Goodbye. Trinity Church, an old Philadelphia congregation, built between 1788 and 1789. This is the one church that is not open on our tour. They just closed this down about a year ago. Yeah, it was open for a long time though.
Holy Trinity Church.
Holy Trinity School.
The plaque up there with the tree on it, that was actually for the Mutual Fire Insurance Company. That was basically Ben Franklin's rival company, first rival company. Because Ben Franklin was weird about trees and fire, he wouldn't insure your home if you had a tree around it.
Bus is turning.
There's a bus behind. Bus
My favorite home in this movie is coming up right here. Cute. We have a new home
That's nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Got a little garage.
Yeah, that's the little garage.
You don't really see garages around here. So that garage is so small. They had to put a hole in the wall to put your car in there.
Or get it out.
I get the one like that, right? When you go in and it's going to slide.
Oh.
That's true.
But it is a historic home, and they would go for at least $4 million if it sold.
Woo! So expensive.
So all these taller buildings that are coming up
Luxury
around
1 and 2 bedroom apartment.
bedrooms.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
2 bedrooms. Farm Journal is there.
Farm Journal.
Right. So these were all publishing companies at one time. It's
Okay,
actually used to be called Publishers Row.
Publish.
That was the Farm Journal. It's now Penn Medicine for Pennsylvania Hospital.
Oh,
Or like a
okay.
doctor's office.
Oh, okay.
And the park that's next to us here is called Washington Square Park. This is one of the fire precautions that I mentioned earlier. This is our last fire precaution, actually. This was one of 5 parks spread throughout the original city as a fire break. But this one here was actually a Potter's field. There's about 4,000 people buried here, consisting of homeless people, poor people. There's a mass grave from the Yellow Fever and the mass grave from the Revolutionary War, full soldiers. This wall here, in front of it actually has a statue of George Washington and then the tomb of the unknown soldier. On the ground in front of the tomb is actually an eternal flame that burns 24/7 in honor of these soldiers. It was originally lit by George Washington himself. They do have these near Washington, D.C. and Arlington, Virginia. There are 2 differences. They have a soldier guarding theirs where we've never had that. And their soldiers are from the Civil War, not the Revolutionary War. But the big building in front of us here was the Curtis Publishing Company, founded in 1883, built in 19 1910. They used to print a magazine here, but now there's actually a couple restaurants on the bottom floor. It's mostly office and residential up top. But if you were to walk down 6th Street at any point and look through the doors on the front of the building, they're huge. There's this humongous glass mural from Tiffany and Company called the Tiffany mural. They spent $3.2 million to make it. And it used to be open to the public at all times, but with the coronavirus, I'm not sure if they actually let me. But it's pretty. It looks like a big painting and it's all stained glass. The brown building that we passed here was the Pennsylvania Bible Society or the Bible House. That has been here since 1808. In that store, they print and sell Bibles in every known language. If you can find an unknown language, prove that it actually was a language, you can bring it here and they would print you a Bible in it. A year for free since you're the first one. They're also famous for printing the first Braille Bible for blind people. That's the one standing published above. This street here is called Jewelers Row. It is not the biggest, but it is the oldest jewelry district in the United States. They started building this in 1843. It was 4 blocks of jewelry shops. The biggest one was in New York, called the Diamond District there. We were the second biggest, but they have more to come down. They're going to be building condos on that street. And then this one was the Public Ledger. The sister company is the Carriage Publishing Company, but this one was built first. They printed a newspaper called the Public Ledger. They sold for 1 penny at the time. Now there were schools in the bottom here, but they did just clear the ground a couple months ago. We got a fancy police district in the corner. They have what's called the Downtown Club, all the way up to the top floor, and the biggest Wawa is in the corner of this building. You guys know what Wawa is, right?
Yeah.
So Old Mountain is a deli. It's not historic, but the name is actually named after one of George Washington's 2 favorite battle horses. Now, can you see the plaques that are on the ground lining that building?
Yeah.
Each one of, there's 53 of them. Each one of those has a different name. That person's portrait, their occupation, and their signature. Those are 53 of the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence. If they're knocked down, we're absolutely terrified inside. So afraid they waited until the function to sign it. Then because they weren't a part of the original movement, they didn't get to be part of our walk of fame. Chocolate store. Not exactly historic, but it is our oldest chocolate store in Philadelphia. It's only 52 years old. But it's really cool because sometimes they make really big chocolate displays. Like for Easter, they have 3-foot chocolate bunnies around.